Hello and welcome to the Nerd Safari podcast. This is my podcasting voice.
Oh, I know.
The Nerd Safari podcast is a monthly podcast dedicated to bringing you all the latest news, views, and opinions on everything nerdy. Did you get that? We'll talk about movies, TV shows, tech, board games, comics, and pop culture merchandise. If any of those topics interest you, you've come to the right place. I am Guide Jesse, joined by Guide Meghan.
Ahoy.
You were supposed to do your dingo ate your baby thing.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, there you go. If you're just now tuning in and you haven't been following me on social media, check out nerdsafaripodcast.com. That's where you'll find this podcast, and you can also see pictures of us, the safari guides, right?
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah, so there's only two of us at the moment. We're looking for future hosts to be joining us here, so stay tuned for that. So should we talk about the format of this podcast, I guess?
That would be great.
All right, so we're going to have a what I'm calling the Nerd News Roundup. We're going to be talking about a number of different news topics. And following that, we're going to have a little discussion topic. And ultimately, I'd like to have some questions from our listeners. But considering this is the very first episode of our brand new podcast, we don't really have any listeners yet, so we can't have any questions. So we'll have to wait until future episodes where we actually do get some questions. But hey, if you do want to send us some questions, send an email to nerdsafaripodcast@gmail.com, and we will get those for a future show. At least I hope that's the email address.
I'm going to make a drinking game out of how many times you just said questions.
That's all right. You should check to see if that's the actual email address. I think it is. See, I couldn't have... I tried to keep everything the same, Nerd Safari Podcast, but when it came to making the Twitter account, that name was too long. So if you go over to Twitter, it's actually twitter.com/nerdsafaricast. You can follow us there. Or just go to nerdsafaripodcast.com and click on the Twitter icon on there. It'll take you right to our Twitter page. All right, so moving on to the Nerd News Roundup.
Yeah.
All right, so our first story. So again, we're recording this kind of later than what I wanted to. So a number of the stories here that we're going to be talking about kind of happened in the month of November. Even though we're recording this on, what is it, December 4th now?
Yeah, that won't be normal.
So story number one. So hashtag release the Snyder Cut continues 2 years after the release of Justice League. So a little bit of background here. During the shooting for Justice League, Zack Snyder, who was the director, stepped down to the death of his daughter. So taking his place was Joss Whedon, who was brought in to finish the film. So reportedly up to 15 to 20% of the film was reshot, which supposedly drastically changed the film that was ultimately delivered to movie theaters. So on Tuesday, 11/19/2019, Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, and Zack Snyder himself tweeted the hashtag, all urging Warner Brothers to release the Snyder version of the film, which apparently does exist. And this story came from Vox.com. So there was a little bit of a follow-up to this. So Warner Brothers, who is the one who is releasing the DC films, they ultimately just said that it's not going to happen. So first of all, have you seen the Justice League movie?
I have not seen the entire thing in whole. I've seen chunks of it in like large bits, but never the whole thing through. I don't know. I was not excited about this movie from day one. Number one, I don't care about Zack Snyder. I honestly can't even think about what else has he been part of. That's what I'm saying. Nothing comes to mind. Joss Whedon, on the other hand, I'm like a super fan of Firefly, and so I was pretty pumped when I heard that he was going to be taking over. But just from what I have seen of the film when it originally came out, one, I didn't go to the theaters for it, so that right there tells you how much I care. But I was expecting more, knowing that Joss Whedon was part of it.
So I had to pull up his
IMDb
filmography.
Sure.
Because there was something that popped in my head, but I just wanted to make sure. So Batman v Superman,
Yeah, also not great.
Man of Steel,
Eh.
Watchmen, 300,
Wait, Watchmen? Like the movie that came out years and years ago?
back in 2009. Yep.
Okay, that one I actually really liked.
Well, he was the director on that one. Screenplay by David Hayter, by the way, who does the voice of Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid. Well, he's one of the credited writers for the screenplay. But let's see. We've also got Wonder Woman. I don't know what he was on that. He wasn't the director. Yeah, Patty Jenkins was the director. He's listed here though, so I don't know.
I don't know. In my mind, just everything that he's been a part of, what you're talking about, none of it really sticks in my head outside of Watchmen.
Maybe he was producer on that?
I don't know.
Well, so of these, I've seen Man of Steel and then Batman v Superman, and I've also only watched part of, or like what you essentially said, was different pieces of Justice League. And so first of all, going back to Man of Steel, I'm a huge Superman fan. I read the Superman comics growing up, and
Oh yeah.
I was a big fan. I still think that the death and return of Superman is kind of like the ultimate,
The
penultimate
antithesis, yeah.
antithesis of a comic storyline.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. I'm also a big fan of the Christopher Reeves original Superman movie. I was excited to watch this Man of Steel movie, and I just didn't connect with him at all in terms of him being the Superman character. I like him as like Clark Kent, but when he's Superman, I don't really care.
I would agree with that quite a bit. But that also summates my entire outlook on the DC films to begin with.
Because you don't care?
I don't care. The characters in general have never been my favorite of all comics out there, and I just think that DC has done such a crap job. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to compete with Marvel, and it's just never going to happen.
Well, so going back to this hashtag release the Snyder Cut. So apparently the film, from my reading of a number of different articles on this, I guess I don't know how much of it actually changed story-wise, but it seems like the tone was drastically different than what actually got released.
Yeah, so my understanding is that Joss Whedon actually made it darker. Is that right?
I want to say it's the other way around.
Oh, really?
Like it was darker, but he lightened it up.
Oh, he lightened it up. Okay, maybe that is the case. I don't know. Again, I don't care.
Like it was serious, more serious, and then he kind of made it more jokey and a lighter tone.
That does make sense. That is much more his style.
Well, so do you think we're ultimately ever going to see this? Like somewhere down the line, do you think Warner Brothers will be like, oh, there's money to be made here, maybe we'll actually release it? Because I know there is like unfinished special effects in the supposed Snyder Cut, so...
I don't know. I have no take on it.
Okay.
That's how little I care about Justice League.
Or the DC universe in
general,
right? So we're both Marvel fans. So.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our next story then. New Star Wars holiday special in the works, question mark? So according to an interview with Jon Favreau, the creator behind The Mandalorian on Disney+, he has an interest in creating a new quote-unquote holiday special in the Star Wars universe. Favreau, if given the green light to make his own special, would like it to feature a character set to appear in the upcoming episode of The Mandalorian. The original Star Wars holiday special aired on CBS in 1978, a year after A New Hope hit theater. That special highlighted something called quote-unquote Life Day, which was mentioned in The Mandalorian already, and introduced us to Chewbacca's family and included cameos by the original cast, and I had to throw this in there, B. Arthur as a bartender.
Awesome.
And the source for this news story comes from InsideTheMagic.net. So first and foremost, before we get to this particular item, have you seen the original Star Wars holiday special?
Yeah, because you introduced me to it a few years ago.
But I watched more of it than you did. I still didn't watch the entire thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As much as, number one, I love Star Wars. I don't even care how bad the prequels were. I would still watch them over and over again. The holiday special was special.
It's special, all right. So of all the, so I'm not a fan of the live action portion of it, but I think the animated. So there's like if you haven't seen it, go out on YouTube, you can find it. But there's like an animated section within the movie that's like completely separate from what's going on in the movie itself or the special itself. But it features Boba Fett, and the animation on that's kind of strange, but it's also very interesting to watch.
It definitely has some intrigue to it. I would not be opposed to this holiday special that Favreau was talking about potentially doing. I wouldn't be opposed to it being that like animated look and feel.
So you would prefer a cartoon as opposed to a live action?
I think so. It's different.
So even after having watched The Mandalorian, so 4 episodes at this point, you'd still rather see a cartoon version?
I mean, for a holiday special, it's a one-off.
I'm maybe.
Okay, if it's gonna be like an every year kind of thing, then yeah, I'd want it to be live action. But if it's gonna be a one-off, I think it would be more interesting to set apart as an animated.
So we'll get to The Mandalorian a little bit here later on, but it says here that the special, if it happens, would highlight or feature an upcoming a character from an upcoming episode of The Mandalorian. So of the 4 episodes that have aired now, is there a character kind of within there that you'd like to see more of?
I mean, we've seen like 3 characters.
We've seen more than 3.
Okay, yeah, we've seen more than 3, but I mean, in terms of what's actually stuck from episode to episode, you're talking Baby Yoda, The Mandalorian, Mando, and I actually don't know if anybody else is carried from episode to episode outside of those 2.
Yeah. So who's the guy that Mando gets the bounties from? I can't remember what his name is.
Oh yeah, I can't either.
So he's been in 2 episodes now, the first and the third one.
Yeah, two of the 4.
And we've seen the Mandalorians themselves a couple different times. We don't know their names.
Yeah.
But we've seen a couple of them in a few episodes now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I don't know.
I mean, the child is really the only one I can think of, right? That seems to be the big hit with everybody's.
Well, yes.
Other than that, the only person I could think of was maybe someone from the most recent episode that we just saw.
From the Little Village.
Well, I was thinking the female bounty hunter.
Yeah, but still, so in the village scenario that took place in episode 4.
She's also. Did you notice? And we're kind of I'm taking a tangent here, but apparently that she has. I can't think of her name. I guess she's got a name. I just can't think of it. She's got a Rebel Alliance tattoo on her cheek.
Oh yeah, I did notice that while watching the episode.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, it went right out of my brain.
But yeah, I guess for me, it would probably be the child character. But I just don't know how you would have like an entire holiday special around a character that, one, hasn't talked yet. Granted, the Mandalorian, you can't see his face, but he does talk. But that's really the only character I could think of, right? Because that would be a hit with older audiences. It would also be a hit with the younger audience.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's really the only one I can think of.
I don't know if they're saying that it's an upcoming character.
Well, so there's 8... Is there 8 episodes to this series?
I believe so.
So we're kind of halfway through? There's 8 or 10. So if we're not halfway through yet, we're almost there. So
yeah.
Anything else on that one?
Not at the moment.
No? Okay. So moving on to Story 3, The Toys That Made Us, Season 3. On November 15th, 2019, Netflix released Season 3 of their documentary series, The Toys That Made Us. It was originally billed as an 8-part series. 8-part documentary series. Right? That was the song?
You now owe someone money.
Due to its popularity, we now get 4 brand new episodes. So episode 9 focuses on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, episode 10 on the Power Rangers, episode 11 on My Little Pony, and episode 12 on professional wrestling. And the source here is simply Netflix.com. So first and foremost, I was a huge fan of the first two seasons of The Toys That Made Us. A lot of the toys there, a lot of the episodes there focused on toys from the 80s. So being a child of the 80s and being a fan of a lot of the toy lines that were represented there, I really enjoyed that series. But I'm glad, first of all, I didn't even know there was going to be a season 3 until we just randomly had Netflix up, and there it was. Because the theme song in the first 2 seasons said it's an 8-part documentary series, right? So to see that 4 additional episodes, I was excited about
Suddenly
that.
appeared, yeah.
Which, by the way, they also changed the theme song, so we're probably going to see additional seasons of this.
Yeah.
So I watched the majority of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think you ended up falling asleep.
No, you fell asleep, and then I fell asleep a little bit later.
Oh, well, I went back and I watched the rest of it that I missed. While we were sleeping, the Play Next episode was on, or the feature was on, and we missed Power Rangers, so I didn't go back and watch that yet.
Oh, I woke up during part of it. I watched a good 10 minutes. And they like vaguely talked about, at least that 10 minutes that I woke up, they were talking about the live action series that was on when we were in, like, what? It would have been late grade school?
No, that was like high school.
Was it high school?
Yeah.
Oh man, time flies.
It was, so I was still riding the bus.
Either way, it definitely brought back some memories for me.
It might have been late middle school.
I feel like I was in 8th grade. So you would have been in high school.
I was definitely riding the bus. I can tell you that much. And at one point, that was like a after school type show. But at one point, they also had a number of different primetime specials,
Oh, I didn't.
which was kind of
realize
interesting.
that.
And then, the last episode, which I watched, I would say about 3/4 of, was the professional wrestling one. And that one kind of covers like all of the professional wrestling toys. So like there isn't one specific promotion. So like they're not just covering WWF, WWE. It's kind of like all the different wrestling promotions that were going on at that time. Yeah, so what do you think of this series kind of overall?
I mean, so far I've been a really big fan of it. Because, like I said, it's the nostalgia aspect for, I think, anybody born in the 80s or late 70s that lived through all these shows and the toys and all of it. So it's just a lot of great memories, and yeah, I'm a fan. I actually really hope they continue it on further.
So what toy line would you like to see them cover? Or just kind of toy in general would you like to see them cover that we haven't seen yet?
I'm actually trying to remember what were the ones in season 1 and 2.
Well, so I know there was He-Man, there was G.I. Joe, there was Transformers, there was Lego.
Yeah.
So that was like season 1?
That was season 1. Season 2 encompassed... Oh, shoot.
We have to look it up here.
I clearly need to go back and watch them all again because I've already forgotten. That's terrible.
Let's see here. It'd be great if the thing here told me what the episodes actually focused on. Let's see. Episodes. Okay, so the first season was Star Wars, Barbie,
Yep.
He-Man, G.I. Joe. Season 2 was Star Trek, Transformers, Lego, and Hello Kitty.
Oh yeah, I think Star Trek is the only one that I didn't watch.
So I had my seasons backwards there. Yeah, I never watched the full episode of the Star Trek one. I did watch part of it, but I'm not really interested in Star Trek. So.
Yeah, I was never... I think of all of them that they've done, actually, Star Trek is my least...
I know it's kind of blasphemy being on a
Interesting.
nerd podcast here, but
Yeah.
I do like the Star Trek movies, if that helps.
Like the more recent ones, not...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, what toys for future episodes?
So one that I brought up to you recently as we were looking for Christmas presents is Capsella. I'd really like to see a episode on that, but I just don't know how prevalent that toy was.
Like I don't know if that really falls in line though with it's so like it seems to me that the toys they really have focused on are those that have expanded out into a world of their own. So there's a toy line, there's either a comic behind them or that came after them, a TV show that came after them, or in the mix of trying to release Capsella. How would you do that?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, I don't know that there'd be enough material for them to cover in an episode.
I'm just trying to think of additional like 80s toy line. I mean, Power Rangers is from the 90s.
They could do Cabbage Patch Kids. I feel like there was a little TV show that came out after those launched. Yeah, what other 80s shows or 80s toys were there?
I mean, there were lots of 80s toys.
Well, yes, but a lot of them were more like your one-offs. Like, you're not going to do something on Teddy Ruxpin.
Right.
There was a Teddy.
I mean, so another thing they could do is they could do one on Gobots. Gobots, very similar to Transformers, actually came out before Transformers. But that had a toy line, that had a cartoon. I don't know. I think there was a comic. But like I said, that's very similar to Transformers, so I don't know if they would do an episode of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've pulled up a website here for different toy lines from the 80s, 25 toy lines from the 80s that collectors completely forgot about.
Actually, one thing I'd like to see is not a specific toy line, but I'd like to see like an episode focusing on like fast food toys.
Oh, that would
I
be
think
really
that'd be
cool.
interesting. Because then they could cover, McDonald's, Burger King.
Oh, yeah. A plethora of, and throughout the 80s, I mean, the options are endless. I have never heard of the bulk of these toys that are on this website. Brave Star, Silverhawks.
Yep, I've heard of those.
Supernaturals, Starriers, like
Okay, I heard of that
Warriors,
one.
but Starriers. I think they look a lot like Transformers.
Actually, no,
Like they
yeah,
would
show me the
be-
picture. They
Golden Girl and the Guardians of the Gemstones sounds like something that was ripped off from a Marvel comic that we all know. Rock Lords.
Yep.
They literally are rock Transformers.
Hey, Pet Rock was big.
Air Raiders.
Yep.
Bionic 6. That one I had heard of. Captain Power. Oh man, there are so many obscure ones in here. The lists go on and on. Power Lords, Sky Commanders.
I mean, another one that I can think of is, but again, it's very similar to Transformers in that there's robots involved, would be Voltron.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think what was the I remember the Garbage Pail Kids movie or whatever that came out. Were there toys for Garbage Pail Kids?
Weren't even toys, there were just cards, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
There was a live action, quote unquote, live action movie. And then, they were just, really, they were stickers, but they were
Right.
on cards, yeah.
So, something we haven't mentioned in talking about the toys that made us is that recently Netflix also launched the movies that made us, also focused on the 80s. So, talking about the idea of what other toys might have episodes, I think it would be really interesting if they did the cartoons that made us from the 80s. Because obviously there are those that have already been covered in some of the toy episodes, but there are tons of cartoons from when we were children that didn't have toy lines, or the toy lines came, I feel like, much later. But there'd be like an entire series that they could do just on like Darkwing Duck and all of that.
That's more like 90s.
Well, fine, then they can do a 90s.
I mean, it doesn't have to just be 80s, I guess. It just seems to be kind of be what they focus on first before kind of expanding it out. But
Well, then do the Smurfs.
do the Smurfs. I mean, that's definitely 80s, yeah. I guess they could also do Trolls.
Yeah.
That could be something
I mean, my point, for toys.
for toys, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have Netflix, and most people do, you can also check out, like Megan said, the movies that made us. So that's got 4 episodes as well,
Yep.
and that covers Die Hard.
Die Hard,
Home
Home
Alone.
Alone. What were the other 2? I was literally just looking at this earlier today.
I'm literally trying to find it here.
I was telling a friend. I was telling a friend at work about it. What were they? Die Hard, Home Alone,
So it's Home Alone, Dirty Dancing, Die
There we
Hard,
go.
and Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So we watched Die Hard the other night. Jesse fell asleep. I saw the whole thing. And then I also watched all of Dirty Dancing.
So I've gone back and watched the rest of Die Hard, and I also watched Ghostbusters. So
You watched Ghostbusters without me?
I did. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Terrible.
I mean, I could watch it again. So
Terrible. I think they've done a really good job with those, like they have with the Toys That Made Us. So
But-
I'd be interested to see what else they come out with for that series.
along the same lines, they could also expand it into the TV shows that made us, right? So they could start with like
True.
70s, 80s, 90s TV shows.
They could literally, though, for the movies that made us, they can do an entire season of like just John Hughes movies. There are so many to choose from.
Well, they did one.
Home Alone,
Home Alone,
that's it.
right? So-
But they have The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. They could also just do an entire Molly Ringwald series.
Well, I don't know if they're going to
Endless.
do that. So
I'm excited for what might come with that.
So again, if you have Netflix, I would recommend checking that out. So, all right, moving on to our next story. Pringles gaming headset.
So dumb.
So what Pringles is referring to as a quote-unquote beta prototype, Pringles has developed a gaming headset that when loaded with Pringles can feed you chips. Or crisps, sorry, they're not actually chips. With the press of a button on an included remote or the press of a button on the headset, a mechanical arm will swing around to your mouth to deliver you a crisp.
A crisp? You mean a chip?
No, because Pringles aren't actually chips.
What?
Like the definition of a chip, Pringle doesn't fit that. They're called crisps.
It's a chip. Pringles, get over yourself. That's how I feel.
There was like a, I don't know if it was like a legal thing or whatever, but they're not technically chips. Like even it even says on the can now, like they're crisps.
It's a chip.
I mean, I would agree, but
That just seems ridiculous.
I don't even know if it's made out of potato. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know, but
I have no idea. We don't buy them that often. so-
whatever the definition of a chip is, I know that the
A
Pringles
Pringle
doesn't.
doesn't fit it. Okay.
Anyways, so this story comes from Engadget.com. And there's if you actually, somewhere I'll figure out where to post our show notes here. Maybe I don't know where. I guess it'll be on the website. Yeah, so head on over to nerdsafaripodcast.com. We'll have the link there. If you check out the link, you can see one of the Engadget's editors there who actually has this prototype, wearing the prototype, and records this video of him trying to use the prototype and essentially giving his review of it. So imagine like these big headphones, right? I typically always use earbuds, so I really hate the big headphones. But imagine big headphones, and then on the right-hand side, there's like this cylinder type thing, and that's kind of where you load the Pringles.
Okay.
And then with the included remote or the press of the button on the side, you essentially push one of those buttons, and I don't know if the chip drops down at that point and then delivers it to you, or just kind of a chip just drops down on its own, just randomly. In either case, you push the button and it swings this arm around, which essentially delivers a chip to your mouth, but it doesn't actually like just sling it in there because it's kind of moving slow. So you still have to kind of figure out how to get it off of this little platform into your mouth. So in this video here on Engadget, the guy who's recording this video, he's like, he comes around to his mouth and he's like tilting his head. He's like sticking his tongue out to try to get it off the thing. So first of all, I guess the question is, who the hell would buy this thing if it ever actually becomes a product?
I mean, that's my question. As I said when you brought this story up, so dumb. Okay, I haven't watched the video yet that you're talking about on the Engadget website, but here's my question. Do you have to push the button, whether it's the remote or on the headset, every single time you want a crisp?
Every time.
What's the effing point?
Well, so before we get to that question, if you have to push a button regardless of whether it's on this included remote or if it's a button that's on the headset, why even include the remote? Why not just push the button on the headset?
Well, what I don't understand is if you're having to do it for literally every single... I'm calling it a chip. It's a fucking chip. If you have to do it for every single chip, that's the same thing as sitting there and just putting your hand in the dang Pringles container and putting it in your mouth. It's the same amount of energy. It's the same process. moving your arm, in this case, you're touching a button. You could just move your arm, pull the chip to your mouth. This is so stupid.
Well, so I don't understand the concept at all. Like, yeah, you could just reach in, grab them, and throw them in your mouth.
Especially if this is called a Pringles gaming headset. The entire concept to me then is we're trying to make it so that you can focus on your gaming even though you want to eat Pringles, which apparently Pringles is the go-to gaming food. Since when?
It's like Pringles and like, what's the Mountain Game Fuel, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I've eaten Pringles while playing games. But
I almost think this takes more effort.
Oh, it's definitely more effort because one, you have to load the thing.
Yeah.
You got to make sure there's batteries in it. You could just pop open the top, reach in, grab it, throw them in your mouth, and you're back to playing. The only advantage here is, right, depending on what Pringles you like, if you're reaching in, you're probably getting some stuff on your hands, right? And then you're gonna get it on the remote, on the control. In this case, you wouldn't do that.
I mean, but every gamer out there has been doing exactly that for how long now?
I agree.
It just isn't needed. I think this is so stupid.
So again, this is a beta prototype. There's no pricing. There was no information on when this might be available, if this might be available at all. Just that, we're working on this thing. So
it should never become available.
And that's probably ultimately what will happen, yes.
Save your money, Pringles.
Yeah. All right, so next story. Walmart teases, quote-unquote, the child plushie. So if you haven't watched The Mandalorian yet on Disney+, spoilers incoming, although we've kind of already spoiled it. Meghan did, not me. In order to keep the child character, a.k.a. Baby Yoda, a surprise, Disney had no merchandise of the character made for the Christmas shopping season. However, now that the cat is out of the bag, Disney is trying to remedy that. So listed on Walmart.com, though it has since been removed, is a Star Wars The Child 11-inch plush. The list price was $24.95 with a release date of May 24th, 2020. The source for this story is toywizards.com. We've also seen, I think also at the same time, and now this one's actually up for pre-order, what are they called? What are they called? The big head guys?
Funko Pops?
Funko Pops, thank you. The Funko Pop version of this. It's kind of a larger version than the standard Funko Pop size. And it's also listed at, I think it was $29.99. That's currently up for pre-order on Amazon.com. Okay, so this story isn't entirely true because Disney actually did release some quote-unquote Mandalorian merchandise. And they've been catching some flack for this because they're essentially, if you've gone to any of like the websites where you can kind of create your own products, so like create your own T-shirt, create your own tumbler, create your own
somewhere like the customized
mouse pad, yeah. The merchandise that they actually have looks exactly like that stuff. So it's like they grabbed like a screenshot, or they grabbed like the CGI model and essentially just threw it on the clothing, and it looks really terrible.
I mean, I'm not surprised. What I am surprised about, though, is that Disney, talk about a swing and a miss. To not have anything ready for going into the Christmas season, but even before that, like Black Friday and everything, I don't know. I feel like they really screwed the pooch on that one. Yeah, it's not stuff for kids, so to speak, but like Star Wars fans, at least the really hardcore ones, they would have been all over that. I work with 3 ridiculously hardcore nerds, and every single Monday we come into work and it's talk about the Mandalorian. So I guarantee they would have bought that shit up.
But if they would have produced this, the toy ultimately would have leaked, and everyone would have known what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but...
And then if it wasn't leaked, like if the packaging wasn't leaked, then the question is, is this a character who's in the upcoming Star Wars movie? Is this a character from The Mandalorian? We know it's from one of them, but like, what is it from? So it really just creates speculation. And
You know, though, I feel like they kind of could have gotten away with it knowing that the final Star Wars film is coming out. And if they literally had just called it Yoda going into production, people would have assumed that Yoda is going to have a big presence in this final film. They wouldn't even necessarily think that it's going to be another of the Yoda species in The Mandalorian.
yeah, but he looks younger than Yoda.
You can find your way around that.
Or she. I guess I don't know if it's a he or
That's
she.
true. We don't know.
So.
I don't know. I still think that they really missed a big opportunity.
Well, the picture that was listed here on Walmart before it was taken down kind of shows, and I don't know if this was like a CGI mock-up or if it was a picture of the actual prototype of the toy or whatever. But you see the plushie inside of the floating little thing that he's
Like
in.
the bassinet, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to call that. It looks like the toy is going to possibly come in that. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
I might pick that up when it becomes available.
That's what I'm saying. Adults all over would have been.
But again,
it basically would have been Tickle Me Elmo for adults.
But it's not coming out again until May.
That's why I say it's stupid. They really missed the mark.
So The Mandalorian Season 1 will essentially be done.
Right.
Will have been done for some time.
Yeah.
And this is maybe a pre-Season 2? I guess I don't even know if Season 2 has been greenlit or not.
Again, I think it would be stupid not to.
I mean, I think maybe it has, but I don't know when they're beginning production on it. So.
I mean, I can't... One, it hasn't been said that the current season is a limited series, and based on the pacing of the episodes, there's no way that it would wrap up to the point that there wouldn't need to be a second season. So it has to be happening.
But I also think this was kind of envisioned as a limited series. Like, I think that's what Jon Favreau had in mind.
I mean, that may have been what he had in mind, but like I said, there's only 4 episodes left, and...
Well, I don't think it was going to be wrapped up in this season, but I think he had if I'm remembering correctly from articles I've read, he had an idea in mind for like a limited series that wasn't going to go beyond a certain number of seasons if it made it that far anyways. So
interesting.
All right, so moving on to our last story, the Black Widow teaser trailer drops. So the release of the Black Widow trailer marks the start of Phase 4 of the MCU. The movie is a prequel and sequel that takes place following the events of Civil War. The movie stars Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow, David Harbour as the Red Guardian, and a rumored Robert Downey Jr. So I've seen this a couple times. Meghan hasn't seen it at all. She's got it pulled up here on this laptop. So
She's busy at work, man.
We're going to get her reaction kind of live as she's watching it.
You want me to play all 2 minutes of this right now?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up with your volume?
And then I got this job. This family. But nothing lasts forever.
I heard you had to leave in a hurry.
It's never easy these days.
So what are you going to do?
I've lived a lot of lives, but I'm done running from my past.
I know you're out there.
I know you know I'm out here. So we're gonna talk like grown-ups? Is that what we are?
This currently feels very Jason Bourne-esque.
It's good to see you too, sis.
That's actually
Sis.
that's actually what a lot of comments online have said.
We have unfinished business.
Especially when she's fighting her sister there.
Yeah.
Quote unquote sister.
Lucky us. One thing's for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a reunion.
Still fits. Family.
Interesting.
Back together again.
You could fit.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this actually, which is really hard because I've been waiting for a Marvel female-led film. I think it's really important, but getting past all the feminist stuff. The family scene seemed super cheesy. I don't know,
We had Captain Marvel. That was the first, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry, completely forgot about that
That
one.
movie's so forgettable.
It is, which also kind of makes me sad. But at the same time, I think it's forgettable because we've had so much Marvel at this point, and so much Marvel where they haven't had to do the origin story film first, that Captain Marvel being an origin film, it's just a lot of backstory, how she became to be. Anyway, so yeah, the fight scene in this trailer definitely feels like a Jason Bourne film, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think the fight scenes in Jason Bourne, any of the Bourne films were fantastic, but neither here nor there. I want to think about Marvel when I'm watching a trailer.
But she's like a Bourne-esque type character,
It's
though, right?
true. I mean, she's not a quote-unquote superhero in the fashion or the guise of, I was bit by a spider or any of that. She's basically like a Bourne-trained assassin. Again, the family scene, super cheesy. I love David Harbour. I don't know, though, that he's superhero film
Well, so
capable.
do you know anything about the Red Guardian?
Yes, I do. I'm going off of what the trailer has provided me here.
Well, again, this is just the teaser, right?
I know.
This isn't like the...
I also don't see Rachel Weisz as, I don't know. I guess like I'm really surprised by the casting. I think that's more what it's about. It's not about the actual characters. It's the casting in this and how this teaser trailer is portraying them. I don't know. This might be one of the first Marvel films that, just off of the teaser alone, I'm not really excited about. I'm going to have to wait.
For me personally, I don't think the Black Widow character is strong enough to
Carry an entire film.
carry an entire film. Like, I'm not invested enough in that character to care about any potential backstory.
Well, I think the reasoning there, though, is because she's always kind of been a second fiddle character in all the Marvel films that she's been in thus far. She hasn't really, yeah, she's had screen time and a decent amount of screen time, but none of it has really been about her at all.
I would say
It's her supporting others.
Endgame focused on her.
Well, I think Endgame focused on her more, though, because they knew they were going to make a film about her, so they wanted people to get invested and interested so that they would go and see this movie in
maybe.
May 2020.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm going to have to wait for another trailer to come out.
Ultimately, though, so being invested in MCU, it'll be something you'll see.
Yes, it will be. Although, part of me so I was a super comic book nerd growing up as a kid. I loved them, read everything I could get my hands on. With that said, I don't know that Marvel needs to continue making all of these movies. I don't know how invested I am in Phase 4 and moving forward. Not because I don't love seeing how they bring it to film and it doesn't, give me all the nostalgia feels. Part of me just thinks, how long is this gonna go on? You've done such an amazing job with all of those really core characters, and then you wrapped it up in such an amazing way with Endgame. So I don't know. I've kind of been on the fence for a little while about this next phase.
Really what they're ultimately doing is building towards New Avengers, right?
Right. But again, you've already seen all of those core characters that everyone knows and loves.
Right, so they're
on
gone,
film, and
right?
they're gone, exactly.
So now we've got new Avengers coming. But if she's kicking off Phase 4, like, how does she play into that when
When she's dead?
she's ultimately gone in Endgame, right?
Spoiler, if you haven't seen Endgame, she dies.
So there was a line in there, I don't specifically remember what it was. It was something about the future or something. So I guess my question is, since this is kicking off Phase 4, do we ultimately see her come back at some point? Right, we know in comic book movies or comics in general, when a character dies, that doesn't mean anything, right?
No, I mean, we have Loki technically out and about running around now.
Well, a different Loki.
Yes, but it's still Loki. It's still Loki, and literally they could just do the exact same thing. Go back in time, get her, pull her out of her timeline, and bring her into the current one. It's not impossible.
I guess.
It's impossible in reality.
Yeah. So I guess my thoughts are I saw the trailer, like you, I got the Jason Bourne vibe from it. As I stated, I'm not really invested in the Black Widow character, and like I said, I don't think she's going to be able to, or that character will be able to carry an entire movie. So I'm not that excited about it either. I don't know.
Either. This rumored Robert Downey Jr. too, I almost feel like is Marvel / Disney trying to create enough of a hook for Robert Downey fans, Iron Man fans, etc., to go so that they can see him one more time, and it's going to end up being like a 45-second cameo.
I mean, maybe it's just reused footage, or he's like in a video clip or something.
It totally could be. And my guess would be, since some of this film, at least, seems to be more of the how did she become who she is to begin with, and fit into the overarching Avengers. I don't know.
This sounds like a more of a wait and see.
Yeah.
Once it comes out.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps up our news.
Cool.
Are there any nerdy news stories you can think of that we don't have on this list that you want to bring up?
From November.
I mean, we're in December now, so...
Precisely. I'm good.
You're good? Okay. So then we'll move on to the watering hole, a.k.a. our discussion topic. So, and that's going to cover Disney Plus. So if you haven't heard of Disney Plus yet, stay tuned.
You're living under a rock.
So Disney Plus is Disney's new streaming service. It costs $6.99 a month or $69.99 a year. Or there's also a $12.99 a month bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus. Some of the originals are the High School Musical, the TV show, High School Musical, the series, whatever it's called, The Mandalorian, Encore, The Imagineering Story, Marvel Hero Project, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, Disney Family Sundays, Forky Asks a Question, and Pixar in Real Life, and Spark Shorts. So I guess my opening question to you is, what do you think of the overall value of this streaming service kind of compared to the other ones?
So that's actually a really interesting question. Having scrolled through what all is currently available, the bulk of it, I would argue, is a lot of your old animated cartoons, all of that. Obviously, eventually, all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be on there. Right now, it's not, just because Netflix still has some licensing, and I don't know, does anybody else have licensing on any of the Marvel films? Either way, within the year, they'll all be up and available. What does a $69.99 a year encompass?
What do you mean?
In terms of, is that like just as an annual?
Yeah, so you can either
cost?
pay $6.99 a month or $69.99 for the entire year, which actually saves you money over the $6.99 a month cost, right? Because you're really only paying for 10 months, you get 2 months free.
Yeah, so knowing that's actually not that bad. I mean, I think it all depends on how invested you are in all of the old stuff that you grew up with. I mean, like, I'm not going to necessarily go back and watch the entire series of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, for example.
Well, why not?
But I think the ability to go and watch an episode or two here and there as I want to get those happy feels is great. Obviously, I think for any of the new content that Disney starts rolling out from here on out, it's going to be fantastic. In terms of the value compared to the other streaming services,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's still too new to know.
Well, so what about like some of these originals? So like I know you've seen Jeff Goldblum, according to the
Yeah,
world
I
according to
actually
Jeff Goldblum.
really like The World According to Jeff Goldblum, but I also think he is just so fascinating and weird that I love being able to watch him for an hour talking about shoes and what's the other one that I recently watched? Oh, he made ice cream. He's just such a weird character.
Well, side tangent here, just for a quick second. So, Jeff Goldblum is really doing a parody of Jeff Goldblum, right?
Yeah, but I feel like he's doing a parody of Jeff Goldblum all the time, which makes me question whether or not that's just actually him, and because he's so weird in that quote-unquote character, if he just tells people that he's doing a parody of himself.
Well, so
but that's actually him.
That was what I was going to ask. So, he's clearly doing like a parody version that everyone kind of associates with Jeff Goldblum. But do you think he's actually doing a parody, and that he thinks that he knows he's doing a parody, or do you think that he's been doing this parody for so long that it's just kind of become
like
his
it's become
personality?
who he is? I think it's exactly that, because when you look at it, so like the quote unquote the character of himself that he's being, even in The World According to Jeff Goldblum, it's so akin to the character that he played in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It just like anything I feel like that I've seen him in the last
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean,
or Thor. Yeah,
Ragnarok?
sorry, there are so many. I'm getting my head confused. Thor Ragnarok. But I feel like anything that he's been in the last, I'm gonna say like 10 to 15 years, he's that character. Like he acted and sounded and all of it, that like weird, exuberant, I can't, it's so amazing. But the exact same way he was in Thor Ragnarok was the same character and portrayal in Jurassic World 2, in that like 3-minute cameo that he had. And it's the same thing in this show. He's just so weird. I love it.
Well, he's supposed to be in Jurassic World 3.
Yeah,
as more of a prominent character. So
and I think it's gonna be the same. But that's kind of my point, though, is when you go back and look at the original Jurassic Park and compare it to his acting then and how he actually carried himself, all of it, it's completely different in every film he used to be in, 80s, 90s, and before that, to what
he's become. Right?
What he's become in this new millennium. It's so weird.
He didn't have like an accident and get like a head trauma, did he?
It's entirely possible.
Well, so yeah, overall, so going back to the question, so overall value compared to the other streaming services. So this is essentially $6.99 a month. Netflix is up to $12.99 a month.
Yeah, Netflix, I will say, I think they're gonna have to come down on their pricing, especially once all their licensing on Disney content is up and they don't have that anymore. I think they've done a lot of really great things with their original shows and movies, but that alone cannot carry them, at least not at their current cost. I don't think. Because I was reading recently, isn't ABC also pulling all of their content within the next year, and they're putting it on their streaming platform? CBS doesn't give any of it to Netflix.
Well, Disney owns ABC, so...
I swear that I was reading something
I mean, they may be
just
pulling
this
their
week,
content, yes, but I don't know.
but it's not, from my understanding, is it wasn't going to be going on Disney Plus, is that ABC's little, like, ABC Go or whatever that's called. It's possible I was streaming this.
I mean, it's possible. I just haven't heard. I don't know of that story. So, have you watched any of the other originals? I know you've seen The Mandalorian. I've watched
The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
No, that's what I meant. Any other besides that? And we got the. I've watched a couple episodes of the Imagineering story, which is a pretty interesting documentary. I've watched 2 episodes of Forky Asks a Question, which is pretty stupid because I hate that character anyways.
Yeah.
And then we've also watched, well, so I know you've watched this too. We've
Yeah, we
also
watched
watched
a
some
bunch of
Spark
the
shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched all the shorts pretty much. I want to say I watched an episode of the Imagineering story. Outside of that, no, I don't think I have watched any of their originals besides Goldblum.
Well, I guess so for me. So for in terms of overall value, I like the fact that if I want to watch one of the Disney animated films, it's there, right? It's no longer quote unquote in the vault. It's like
Yeah.
it's not It hasn't disappeared. I'm not gonna wait, another 10 years before it becomes available for me to buy. It's just there and available anytime I want to watch it.
Yeah. Can we actually talk about the missed opportunity of Disney? Instead of calling this Disney Plus, they should have called it Disney Vault. Because it's like so synonymous with what Disney is. Their whole, we've put it in the vault and it's not available. And now, moving forward, everything is there.
Except for Songs of the South.
Which shouldn't be.
Songs of the South.
Yeah. But otherwise,
I would disagree on that, but
that it should be available?
So
That it was
there's-
a missed opportunity.
that it should be available. So there's a couple of different. I can't think of what this service is off the top of my head. There's another streaming service that has some potential, I guess, racist type material on it. But prior to that actually playing, they've got like a little. I think one of them actually has an introduction by a person, like they're talking about it, and how it's kind of like it was of the time type thing. So kind of explaining before you actually see it.
Which, okay, so I can appreciate that, but
I mean, they can't get
to not get super political, I think in the time that we live in right now, it just would be bad.
not even as like an educational type thing. You don't think it'd be worthy of having it on there? It might be a controversial topic, I know, but that's why I'm bringing it up.
So I think controversial topics are well and good, yes, when education is provided, but we're talking about a streaming service where you have complete control over how much of that content you just scrub right through and past. And people who aren't interested in the educational part of that are just going to bypass it and then watch the content and who knows what with it.
Well, but also with it being a streaming service, right? Disney could also say, okay, we're not going to let you fast forward through this part of it. You're going to see the introduction before you get to the content.
I mean, I think that at least would be better, but again, I think we live in some, like I said, I don't want to get political. I just think that things are way too divisive in this country right now, and I think it creates some danger. I'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough. So my next question to you would be, what content is not there on the service that you would like to see? Because there's a number of things that come to my mind. So prior to the launch, we saw a listing of all the content that would be there. And there's a couple things that aren't there. So one, we don't have Muppet Babies, the 80s cartoon. What we do have is the reimagined 2018 series, 2017, maybe it's 2019 series. Whatever it is, the most recent incarnation of Muppet Babies, which is like a CGI version.
Which I hate.
Yeah, so the original's not on there. And the only reason I could think that it might not be on there is because it includes some clips from movies, possibly some TV shows, but a lot of the movie clips that I recall being on there were from Star Wars, and Disney now owning Star Wars seems like they could clear that. I don't know. So that's one. Another one also includes these characters, but The Muppet Show, not seeing that on there. The only thing I can think of is because The Muppet Show included a lot of musical performances, Maybe they don't have
the
the
music rights anymore.
music rights. They can't get that cleared. I believe a lot of the DVDs that were released, some of them included or excluded those musical performances. So if they can't get that cleared, to me, I would still rather see some of the content than none of the content.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. So I haven't scrubbed through apparently as in depth as you have what Disney Plus offers currently. So I don't know if there's anything at the moment that I feel like is missing. But like I said earlier, I feel like currently a lot of what is there, it is all the nostalgia stuff, at least for people our age. Old cartoons and whatnot. I don't know. I'm more than anything am interested to see what original content they create from a TV show perspective, because we've yet to fully see that in the guise of like what's the WandaVision that's supposed to be coming out.
That's like late next year, I believe.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see how they do with that, because up until now, it's all been the Marvel films. Obviously, we've seen Netflix and their iterations of Marvel TV shows, but that's more than anything what I'm looking forward to. So I don't really feel like I'm missing anything at the moment.
And we also have the Obi-Wan TV series coming, or
Yeah.
Disney Plus series coming.
Yeah.
I don't know how far in the future that will be, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't either.
That's just something additional that's coming. I was trying to think of the other Marvel series. So we got the Loki one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what they are.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, in any case, I'm looking forward to those original series. But in terms of the content that's not there currently, the Muppet stuff I mentioned. But that's really, I guess, the only thing. There are some episodes of the original DuckTales that are missing. I don't know why that is. They're also, in a lot of these older cartoon series, a lot of the episodes are out of order. So, like, Disney owns Fox now. So a lot of the old Fox Kids cartoons from the 90s are on the service now. So, like, the Spider-Man series, the X-Men series, and a lot of those episodes are out of order. So I don't know why that is. But apparently all the episodes are there for those. Also, one of the, not a huge controversy, but one of the controversial things on Disney Plus is The Simpsons, because the version of The Simpsons that they're showing is the widescreen version, which is something that they had on FX.
Yeah.
And then people complained on FX, so FX changed it back.
Yep.
But we've got the widescreen version here on Disney Plus. Now, Disney did say that they will be changing that come the new year, and you'll have the option of displaying the widescreen or the original 4:3 version. So,
Well, so it sounds like they've already taken care of the issue.
well, they will be. But the problem with the widescreen version, outside of it cutting off content, is the older seasons, they look so low quality
Oh yeah.
that when you
It would just look even
blow the
worse.
screen up, because I've watched some of the episodes from season 1 on the service, and they just look terrible. So
Yeah, that I would believe.
So we've got Disney Plus. I purchased the year version, year's package service, whatever. So $69.99 a year. Do you think that's a good value?
I mean, in comparison to what are we paying for Netflix?
It's $12.99 a month. So that's $12.99 a month. Hulu is $5.99 a month. They've actually dropped in price. Disney Plus is $6.99 a month. Amazon Prime, just get for free as being a Prime member.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think $70 a year is terrible, considering just how much is available on Disney Plus. I guess my intrigue is going to come from whether or not that price is going to go up as they do start to launch more of their series. Because that's literally what we've seen with Netflix over time, is the more and more originals they're making,
but they launched with like 10 million customers, right? They've got 10 million people.
That's true.
Or 10 million accounts,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know that they'd be raising the price. I mean, it is Disney, and if you've gone to Disney World, you know how expensive it is just to park.
That's my point. So we'll see.
But they are in competition with Netflix. They're in competition with Apple now. The Apple service is not that
See,
great.
I don't think Apple is in competition with anyone. I think they're like the bottom of the barrel right now. I haven't been impressed with anything that we've checked out on the platform. So,
and I would agree they're at the bottom of the barrel, but they're also giving the service out for free for a year to anyone who's purchased an Apple device. So.
yeah, they're doing that, in my opinion, because they know it's not fantastic and they need to try and get people interested. I'm not sold.
Well, for $69.99 a year, I think it's a good deal. Really enjoying The Mandalorian. I think that price alone is worth it.
Agreed.
But once they start bringing out the Marvel series that I'm interested in, and then, like you said, if I want to catch some random Chippendales Rescue Rangers episode, at some point, I can just pull it up and do that. I even just pulled up Tailspin, just listen to theme songs.
Not surprised.
Yep. So that's Disney Plus. Any other thoughts on that? No? All right, so that will wrap up the first episode of the Nerd Safari podcast. If you'd like to help support the show, consider becoming a patron. Head on over to patreon.com/nerdsafari, where we have 3 patron tiers and 4 stretch goals, including adding more shows per month, as well as upgrading our recording equipment. If you don't want to become a patron, consider a one-time contribution with Venmo. Head on over to nerdsafaripodcast.com and scan the Venmo code in the footer. And if you can't afford a monetary support, no worries. You can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts. So any closing thoughts here at the end of our first episode? What do you think of podcasting?
Yeah, this is my first time. It's interesting.
We popped your podcasting cherry. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yup.
Yep. So do we have a sign-off yet?
No.
All right. Well, we don't have a sign-off yet. We're trying to think of one prior to
Just let
recording.
it naturally occur.
No, we need like a sign-off for every show, but...
Bye?
No, we need something more than that. Well, hey, if you can think of a sign-off for us, shoot us an email at nerdsafaripodcast@gmail.com, and perhaps we will use that in the future. And also, if you have any questions for us to answer, it's primarily nerd-related questions, send us an email at nerdsafaripodcast@gmail.com, and we will answer those in the future. All right, so till next time, this is Safari Guide Jesse, signing off.
This is Safari Guide Megan. Bye.
There you go.